So once again, as I said earlier in opening the program, the All Eyes on DC show, this is a platform that is meant to advance the cause of Pan-African self-determination, Pan-African sovereignty, African nation building, African nationalism in every form. We are not sugarcoating it here for anybody. The media has been one of the most forefront tools in manipulating the masses and organizing them and getting them in accord with whoever is creating that program. For several years, right? Since whoever came out of what cut they came out of, and they manipulated the world and they created a paradigm, the media has been the force by which they have legitimized the breaking down of our families, the ghettoization of our communities, right? The manipulation of our culture, and that culture being sold back to us in a way that we find apprehensive, right? But there are lessons here that no matter what trajectory our freedom struggle takes, that remain consistent, like the love for family, working hard, respect for your elders, respect for hard work, the structure of a family, right? And we're talking about traditions that have been consistent in our lineage since before the Ma'afa, because even though we came here, there were still parts of our culture that we retained and that returned into other forms that still show our Afrocentricity to this day. And our elders were very pivotal in pretty much keeping that going, which is why we are here today. Understand that this program, like I said before, is part of a think tank series. We have 8 issues that we have been working on. Tonight's show pretty much covers 2 of those issues: a system of self-governance and intergenerational relationships. Those 2 mingle hand in hand because you have to understand that the first governments were families. I want you guys to hear that. The first governments were families. There is nothing without a family structure. You can't form a business, you can't form a government, you can't talk about going out and changing the world without a family structure. That is the nucleus out of which we come out of. Even if you look at spirituality and the duality of the Most High, you see the masculine and the feminine energy. That in itself is very evident that family is the basis. And the elders, as well as the babies, are the closest to the Most High in that transference of knowledge, which is why we have to give them all the honor and respect. But at the very same time, as the millennial speaking, I'm going to say that that relationship needs to be congruent. It needs to go both ways. But I totally understand, given the war on drugs and the de-individualization of our communities, why there's pretty much been a breakdown in communication between generations. But today's where the healing starts. And this program is a part of that. So I want you guys, as you listen today, to think about your elders. Think about your grandmother, your grandfather, your great auntie, great uncle, whoever it is that you can remember when you were coming up. Think about how they were pivotal in your life. Or you can be like me and think about how I never had a chance to meet my paternal or maternal grandparents. But I took on their traditions and their attitudes, and I learned about their names, and I learned about where we came from, right? And I also took on other elders in the community. And not only that, in my journalism, I've learned to listen to elders. I've learned to really take into account what they say and listen to our history, read about it, and move accordingly. Not saying that I will always do what they ask of me, but I am learning and I'm continuing along in that tradition. So, if this is the point where I stop talking, I'm going to give our gracious Baba here the floor. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself. Just talk about what he has here today. He has a very powerful PowerPoint presentation for y'all. So once again, I'm asking that y'all pay attention and you keep your elders at the forefront of your mind, especially if they're not here with us in the physical realm. If they're ancestors, think about them as we watch this presentation, y'all. Let's give Baba Rafiki a hand, y'all, please.
Sana, Baba.
Yeah, bro.
Appreciate that beautiful introduction. I'll set the tone for this presentation tonight. It's an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to be here with you tonight to talk about the DC Pan-African Council of Elders, an organization that was formed about 5 or 6 years ago. Came out of LC Pan, and Baba Sana and Baba Lumumba and others were responsible for establishing this particular organizational body. It's an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to be here with you tonight. We have also, I'm the co-chair of the DC Council of Elders, and we also have our co-chair Nana Ansatayas by telephone. She was unable to make it here tonight, but she is here with us by telephone, so let me let her say hello.
Hi, greetings everyone.
Greetings.
Yes, I'm so sorry that I wasn't able to come, and I am so very, very proud of the fact that you have asked us to be on this program tonight. And we'd like to say also, Sam, that we are really proud of you, and you received a Luda Antigua Award at our last Imani night. So we just want to say, we're very, very proud of you, and we were happy to give you that award.
Great. Yes, sir. Mama was just recognizing the fact that you received the Luther Continua Award on Imani night during Kwanzaa, and for all of your hard work and diligence, dedication to the cause. So we appreciate what you bring to the table, good brother, and to the community.
Yes, no question.
So, what we're going to do tonight is provide you with a PowerPoint presentation that was originally presented, as you can see, at Wisdom Wednesday, Institute of Karmic Guidance, down at Thurgood Marshall Center on August 15, 2018. And it pretty much completely outlines what we are as an organization, the things that we do, conflict resolution and mediation that we engage ourselves in, and the services that we offer to our community. So, I'm going to start with a little history on the Council of Elders, and as you can see, go back one slide, please. Go back one, please. I just want to. So this is our welcome, introduction, and overview of the Council of Elders and historical perspective. And of course, as I mentioned before, we have our co-chair on the phone, Nana Ansatayas, and myself, Baba Rasafik. And we've been in these particular positions for almost 3 years now. And our terms run 3 years. Our term this time is almost up. But we may extend this tenure until maybe 6 months into this year, until we appoint new co-chairs. Okay, the next one, please. So, the historical roles of elders in ancient African society. It's not a new thing. It goes all the way back to ancient Africa. It's a very important body of individuals. The elders of the village are the boundaries. This is a quote from Ghana. The one who does not listen to the advice of the elders will find him or herself in trouble. Swahili from Tanzania. Advise and counsel him or her. If they don't listen, let adversity teach them. Ethiopia. So we teach by example, we learn, hopefully from the mistakes that are made. Sorry about that.
I got it, Tom.
Okay, Sante. Okay, next slide, please. Can you hear me okay? So the roles of elders in Council of Elders in traditional African societies. So the elders are protectors of and transmitters of the culture from generation to generation. Provide counsel and advice to the king and or queen mother. Of course, we don't necessarily have kings and queens now, but we have mamas and babas, and we sort of serve in those traditional roles. Mediate, process, and resolve disputes and conflict between society members. Manage conflict so that it does not escalate into violence and rupture the social fabric. Promote and manage harmony within the society. Very important. We try to practice peace, love, and happiness. Try to resolve our differences without having any issues. Of course, in the final analysis, we can agree to disagree, right, and move on. And that gets caught up in all this interplay and conflict. Next, please.
Is Baba Lumumba there?
No, he's not.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So this is the contemporary application of traditional Council of Elder concept. Baba Lumumba. When doing our previous presentations, these are the individuals that presented these particular sections of the PowerPoint presentation. So the purpose is to institutionalize an African approach, build a community, establish the importance of community, establish a system of accountability, helps younger people internalize their understanding, makes the individuals with the most experience available to younger members. So we reach out to the younger members, we teach them, mediate with them, and help them to understand the ways of the elders. Next, please.
We can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
No.
Okay. The mic is
The mic's not
working?
working.
Okay. Well, I have to speak a little louder. Maybe I don't have it on. Anyway, I'll speak a little louder. Contemporary application of traditional Council of Elders concept. Functionally correct, functionally connect organization, resolve disputes, mediate disputes, provide encouragement, represent the community, provide a yearly inspirational message. These are some of the things that the Council of Elders are responsible for. There have been previous attempts to establish and convene a Pan-African DC Council of Elders. Originally, it was called the Banner City Council of Elders. The purpose: during the summer of 1992, our esteemed elder, Dr. John Henry Clark, suggested that a Council of Elders be formed to provide leadership and structure to addressing community concerns. A representative group convened thereafter in response to Dr. Clark's charge to begin the work of structuring a council using the principles delineated in Dr. Williams, that's Dr. Chancellor Williams, we're all familiar with him. Structure by division, in the latest chapter of the Structure of Black Civilization. This group of dedicated brothers and sisters have met weekly since August 1992 and have worked assiduously to develop organizational structure and procedures. Next, please. If you have any questions during the course of this presentation, feel free to stop me and ask your question.
What did he mean by structure by division?
Well, you have to have certain areas of concentration and focus. So you structure your society certainly by division, you know.
Okay.
You have the political, the educational, historical, nutritional,
Economic.
all of those various divisions.
Okay.
Certain people are responsible for those particular divisions. They can expand and elaborate on those particular areas of
Okay.
focus.
Okay.
And I'm sure most of you are familiar with Dr. Chancellor Williams' book, Structure of Black Civilization.
Oh, yeah.
Signature piece in our litany of literature, and so I would certainly advise you to read that book if you haven't already. Next, please. So the Banneker City Council of Elders, founding members. Baba Orefo Karamoko, many of you may have known these individuals, many of them are still with us, some have transitioned. Valora Ifa Taylor, Baba Ngoma, the master drummer, Baba Kalunji Olusegun, Mama Marilyn Killingham, Baba Disa Ajimu, Mama Lake Ford, Nana Kwabena Brown, who's currently a member of our Council of Elders, Baba Kwame Kwasi Afo, Baba Jerry Shishibe, Baba Rasafik Weusi, Mama Nana Shishibe, Baba Kamara Lee Chapman, Okonfo Kua Nsum Akoto. Next, please. Baba Siba Kopik, who's currently a member, Shekam Tut Maat Shat Maat Liro, Okonfo Abba Nsia Opari, who's a current member, Mama Kahembe Johari, Baba Ajay Akoto, who recently passed, and many of you know his 40-day celebration will be held this Sunday. Mama Nzinga Warfield Kopik, Mama Lauren Smith Butler, Mama Makini Nili Wambieni, Owa Hamadu Matu Ra and Kemet, Baba Nyano Koko Bali Raison. Council Committee's mission statement: to foster a commitment to the preservation, promotion, and reanimation of traditional African culture, to establish standards of individual institutional interactions within an African-centered framework, to develop and issue public statements on issues affecting the community in the local, national, and international sphere, to mediate institutional and individual conflicts within the African community, to establish and promote standards of excellence regarding individual and institutional productivity. So that's our main purpose. That's our mission statement. Those are the things that we're about and the things that we certainly attempt to do. Carry out our mission and our purpose. Any questions on that, please? Next. Council of Elders Committees, as proposed. Fiscal affairs, very important. We have to look at economic and financial matters within the council. Membership and protocol, records and archives, public relations and mailings, scheduling of cases and events. Of course, the council is available to listen to various issues that have arisen in the community, so we have various cases that are presented to us. We decide whether we are in a position to hear them out and the events that are related to that. Next, please. History and development of the current Washington, D.C. Council of Elders. And again, Nana Hansatias, co-chair, and Baba Rasafik Weusi, co-chair. So, purpose, mission/role, goals and objectives, structure, membership criteria, current members, short bios, current programs, application process for access to and utilization of core services, mediation and conflict resolution. We're responsible for the organization of Kwanzaa Imani Night celebration, which was a beautiful event at Plymouth Congregational Church on the 1st of January. I'm sure some of you were there.
Oh yeah.
And witnessed a beautiful program. Kwanzaa Imani Night celebrations, youth outreach efforts and awards. Each year we award the Aluta Continua Award to outstanding young people in our community who have certainly contributed to our overall growth and development and have made valuable contributions to our efforts. CO retreats and community acknowledgements. Next, please. Framework of the establishment of the Council of Elders. Purpose: to foster a commitment to the preservation, promotion, and revitalization of the African cultural identity, to help enhance the harmony, stability, and continuity of the overall African/Black community of Washington, D.C. area, to provide role models and incentives to the younger generations. Next, please. To maximize the availability and utilization of the experience and knowledge of the most seasoned members of our community, to honor the members of our community who have been working the longest for our liberation, and to serve as an advisory body to the Leadership Council of Pan-African Nationalism, that's LCPAN, and its member organizations. How many of you are familiar with LCPAN? Leadership Council for Pan-African Nationalism. Again, this is a body that was established by Weusi in the back, has recognized that. And it's composed of many different individual organizations in the community who've come together to form this leadership council. To help resolve disputes between individuals and organizations in the African/Black community, to review and advise on community development plans. Such plans should come from LCPAN or any LCPAN member organization that seeks the official advice and counsel of the Council of Elders. To preside over important community events such as Kwanzaa in an honorary capacity by city and state dressed in official Council of Elders attire. We, most of the time at official events, dress in white, and we also have sashes, very colorful sashes that were designed specifically for our use. Next, please. To present an annual State of the Community address that we presented each year on the last day of Kwanzaa. And of course, each year, as we did this year, we present a statement to the community, which basically highlights the events that we involved ourselves in the past year. This year, we talked about expanding our reach and maximizing on the legendary leadership of our ancestors. So it's an opportunity to reach out to the community and to increase our impact on the overall community, to be advised on how we can proceed to better our situation in the community. Next, please. So the Council of Elders structure. The Council of Elders will consist of a minimum of 5 elders, 65 years of age or older. There is no maximum number of elders that the Council of Elders may consist of. It will consist of all who meet criteria and are nominated and are approved. We currently have about 16 or 17 members. Next, please. Each member of the Council of Elders must meet the following criteria: has reached the age of 65, has been a respected member of the Washington, D.C. area Pan-African community for at least 10 years, is considered a person of good character, must not be conflicted about our people's need for sovereignty and unity of our position, that the future of African people must be based on our collective identity established prior to enslavement and colonialism. Next, please. Criteria continue. Must possess an African-centered, Pan-Africanist ideology that includes political, cultural, and economic independence for African people, and must have demonstrated that African unity is part of his/her ideology through his or her community involvement. Next, please. Council of Elders nomination and approval process. Nominees must be nominated by an LCPAN member organization. Nominee does not have to be a member of the nominating organization. Doesn't have to be a member of an LCPAN member organization. A nominating organization representative shall submit a completed nomination form to LCPAN. After being nominated, nominee names will be shared with the community, including posting of the names at various locations for public awareness and to provide anyone in the community an opportunity to raise concerns about a nominee. So you have to go to a vetting process, right? Gives the community an opportunity to weigh in on whether they feel that you're fit and responsible enough individual to be on the Council of Elders. And if you feel that this person's character is in question, then you need to raise that issue with the committee before that person can be fully nominated and included in the Council of Elders. At the quarterly LCPAN meeting subsequent to a nominee being nominated and the sharing of nominees' names with the community for a period of at least 60 days, there shall be a full presentation on the nominee's qualifications and readiness to serve, which should include the nominator and the nominee being present and making a statement to the assembled body and being prepared to answer questions. Any objections to a nominee by a community member shall be addressed. So again, it's important to go through this process to make sure that you're fit and proper to become a member of the Council of Elders. All nominees must receive at least 2/3 approval from a minimum of 9 LCPAN representatives at an LCPAN quarterly meeting after all of the above steps of the process have occurred. Next, please. Council of Elders administrative and governing process. The Council of Elders shall meet at least 2 times per year for administrative purposes. The Council of Elders will develop processes and procedures for carrying out its roles and responsibilities, including the establishment of at least 3 committees: dispute resolution, community development. The Council of Elders shall have dual leadership, male and female. That's why we have Nana Ansa as our female representative and myself as the male co-chair. The Council of Elders have a revolving leadership with 2 co-chairs with each serving 2-year terms. That has since been changed to 3-year terms. Procedures for carrying out the tasks of the Council of Elders will be developed by the Council of Elders and always respective committees. Decision-making will be by seeking consensus with a majority vote deciding issues for which consensus cannot be reached. All COE members shall have an equal decision-making and voting rights. Next. And here's the Council of Elders induction oath. We have been called by our families. We have been called by our community. We have been called by our ancestors. We have been called by the Creator, known by many names. we have answered and stand before you today. We declare our commitment to an African-centered lifestyle that is principled, considerate, and intentional. That's our induction code. And I continue. We pledge to uphold the purpose and mission of this Council of Elders in written and in the spirit of our ancestors in centuries gone by. We commit to the revitalization, restoration, and preservation of African cultural identity and its many expressions. We work for the total liberation and sovereignty of African people. We have been called. We have answered by our presence and this oath. We commit to honoring this oath with our minds, bodies, and spirits before our community, our family ancestors, our clan ancestors, our national ancestors, and the Creator known to us by many names. He didn't give 7 Harambes. Together we will win. All of you familiar with Harambe. We accept, this is our community pledge, we accept you as our Council of Elders. We accept your commitment to family. We accept your commitment to community. We accept your commitment to nation building. We accept your oath to work for the total liberation and sovereignty of African people. We pledge to honor your position as elders of our community. We pledge to honor and uphold your decisions. We also pledge to the revitalization, restoration, and preservation of the African cultural identity and its many expressions. And we commit to honoring this pledge with our minds, bodies, and spirits before our family ancestors, our clan ancestors, our national ancestors, and the Creator known to us by many names. Seems like we just read that. 7 Harambes. Next slide, please. There we are. We are our ancestors. This is an anthem for the Maroon people. We are our ancestors. They live through our being. Though unseen, they are not dead. Not history's forgotten. Brought to life only through those seeking fame from our name. Our forefathers, our foremothers live. They are not dead, not skeletons on moldy shelves and books seldom read. Our being still blows freedom calls, summoning the ancestors here, awakening the past, conquering ancestral death, breathing life in our ancestors. Our drums echo ancestral heartbeats ritually, speaking to us, through us, with us, vibrating freedom sounds, arousing the ancestors. Our dreams conjure them nocturnally, guiding, confiding, whispering, plotting, revealing clues to us, clues about them, ensuring freedom's continuity. Through their blood, legacy, and our genes, we are our ancestors. Next comes from Nana Faraika Berhane, year 1995. She's currently a member of the Council of Elders. Good mama from Jamaica. And the current Council of Elders members include, and if you're here and your name is called, please stand. Baba Imamu Kuumba Bakum. All right. It's Baba Imamu. Let's give him a hand. Nana Faraika Berhane. She is not here tonight, but we certainly honor her. She's one of our most dedicated members. Nana Kofi Boachi, Nana Kwabena Brown, Nana Kweku Mwata Carr, Mama Jeanette Anase Carson, and she just received the African Consciousness Award at the Imani celebration on January the 1st. Baba Tiva Kopik, who assisted us in putting together this presentation. Mama Nia Kuumba, one of our eldest elders. She's currently in a nursing home. We visit her from time to time. She's doing very well. In fact, she was presented with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Kwanzaa Children's Party this year. Which represented or observed its 50th anniversary out of the Panorama Room. Baba Mosi Matsamela, I think he's in the room. Baba Mosi, one of our members. Nana Insia, Nana Abba Ninsia Opari, Sir Sutaba Rahari, Mama Benita Thompson, Nana Ansa Tyus, who's on the phones. Let's give her a hand. Nana Ansa. Baba Kofi Tyus, and yours truly, Baba Rasafik Weusi. Our ancestral members are Nana Shishibe, Baba Kalunji Olusegun, and Baba Lasana Mack, who was one of the originators of the Council of Elders. He was an honorary member because he was younger than 65, but this was sort of one of his brainstorms. He and Bob Lumumba put this together. And so far, we've given awards to a number of young people in our community. Aluta Continua Award recipients. Brother Diallo Sumbri, Dr. Matthias, who's the daughter of Mama Ansatias, Salim Adolfo, Yainsi Opari Phillips, Samantha Page Davis, Okoshua Akoto, Alandela Zulu, Jawanza Zulu, Omawali Sia, Dr. Kalechi Iguim, Obi Ibuna, Mahiri Edwards, Jessica Cunningham, Ya Sentawa Akoto Hargrove, Jose Akoto Hargrove, and Atia Ball Lacey. And we need to add to that list some of those who have been given awards in the last couple of years. Next, please. That's the end. We have a little bit to go. So anyway, that concludes our PowerPoint presentation of the Council of Elders. It gives you a little history, a little perspective on what we do, some of the things that we're responsible for, how people join the organization or nominated to the organization, and various roles and duties and responsibilities that we carry out. Nana, is there something you wanted to add to that, please?
Well, we are a very active body.
Yes.
And in the last couple of years, since we have been, Ted Baba and I have been the co-chairs, we've done a lot. And, you know, all of our members are working members. And each of us, you know, contributes to the whole. And last Imani night was the largest Imani night that we've had thus far, and we're just so very proud of all of the people who came out to support the new awardees and Mama Jeanette. And we have some very interesting things that are coming up for 2020, and we can share those with you. We probably will not bring on any additional members for at least another year, but we plan on doing that, you know, to grow the base. And we're just, like I said, you know, we're very proud of what we've done thus far. People are beginning to understand who we are in the community and what we do, and so we're just proud because, you know, we are, you know, standing on the shoulders of our ancestors, and we're standing on those who have gone on before us. And everyone is a contributing factor to the success of our endeavors, you know, as the DC Pan-African Council of Elders.
Santi Sana, Mama. Now we currently. I just want to mention a couple of things. We currently meet once a month. At one time, we met every other month, but we felt that wasn't often enough. So we had a lot of things to discuss and a lot of things to accomplish. So we currently meet on the third Sunday of each month over the Moja House. And we have some very lively meetings, very informative and stimulating. And we try to get the work done. Absolutely. So,
in addition, we do have a scribe that you know that comes to our meetings and takes down all of the notes, you know, because sometimes, you know, things can get lost, and he has just been wonderful in terms of being able to do that. And so we really we're trying to develop also a junior council of elders. Well, a junior council.
yes.
Because we realize that as we getting older, we do need, you know, new blood to sustain all of the things that we're trying to accomplish. And we do have, and we're calling on those, and Sam, you will probably be one of the ones we'll be calling on. So to extend what we're trying to do, because we're trying to develop scholarship funds, we're trying to work with other organizations, in terms of art for our children. And so it's a number of things that we're trying to do, and we do need the help of younger people. And so because we want this to be intergenerational, not just us old folks.
Right.
We really need new blood to come in to assist, with new ways and new ideas and so forth. And it just won't be us. We are at a point where we want to listen to younger folks. We did have a intergenerational meeting about 2 years ago where young people were invited to come out. They shared their dreams and aspirations and so forth. And so we want to continue on that vein because we can't do it by ourselves.
That's a good segue to a couple questions that I had. So the format that was laid out here tonight for us was a presentation first, and then just open dialogue, Q&A with our guests, more so about the topics at hand within how they handle the council of elders and just what's needed for elders. So I guess my first question, right, to y'all point about passing on the baton and establishing more intergenerational relationships, like, what's your current assessment of the liberation struggle? Like, given your past experience, what is your assessment of the current landscape and just the way that the youth are conducting themselves within it? What do you see? I'm very interested in hearing more about that.
Right. Well, we feel it's important to establish a realistic framework for liberation and upliftment of our people, and how we can, in fact, reach out to our young people, because, like you say, they are bringing up the rear. They're going to have to assume the roles that we now serve, so we have to prepare them appropriately. So, first of all, it's important that we emphasize the politicization of our young people, that we help them to understand African culture and the basic tenets of African cultures, that we understand our history and what our ancestors have done and what we need to do as we carry on the work. We emphasize health and nutrition. It's important that we eat properly. We eat healthy food. Many of us are advocates of a plant-based diet, a holistic approach to life. We cover all aspects of our existence. We encourage people to exercise, right? Get out and move those bodies. Meditate, pray, chant, whatever spiritual practice you choose to involve yourself in. Of course, we certainly encourage our people to investigate traditional African religious practices and spirituality. But we feel that it's certainly your option to follow whatever particular religious practice that you feel will be beneficial to you in your overall development and growth and our survival. Many of us came up in the Christian church, so we certainly don't frown on Christianity. We know Christianity actually began with us. It's been bastardized and changed over the years. But many of the religions came out of African cultural societies, as Dr. Bennett wrote in his book. Many of you read Black Man on the Nile and the origination of Islam, Christianity, and
Judaism.
Dr. Chancellor Williams.
And Chancellor Williams, right?
Right.
Construction of Black civilizations. All that's important.
Right, exactly.
Encourage. Okay, you want to add to that, Mama? Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that we feel very strongly about is getting younger people involved in who we are and what we do. And like I said, a lot of times, we may have, our coming up and our liberation and everything is different, from some of the young people who are coming up today. I grew up in the 60s, and, that was a very powerful point of origin for us as young people at that time. So things are different now, and that's why we have to have, the youth involved, with us. So they can tell us or they can give us ideas as to how we can help. And so it's just very important that we involve young people in everything that we do.
Education for liberation. That's our
That's
goal
right.
and objective.
That's right. And with our wisdom and the usefulness and everything, it goes hand in hand.
No question.
What what do you see in the youth? From what you've seen, as far as just like their activism or like their involvement, in African sovereignty. Like, I'm only asking because you have anybody else tell it, and I'm not saying every elder speaks like this, but there's often a villainization, of young people, from, sorry to say, that's not often the case, but it's sometimes the case, and that leads to the misunderstanding and the schism between elders and young people. So, as council elders who have interacted with younger people, like, what are you seeing about the way that they handle their responsibilities, as those, carrying on the mantle? Like, what are some differences and similarities that you see in, people my age or people a little older than me, that are just in the community doing the work?
Well, it just depends. It just depends. Okay, I'll give you an example. I have a granddaughter who's 20, and she was brought up in the culture. She's a young and kind woman, and it just depends on how how students or how children are raised, and so forth. So, but one thing that I will say is that when I'm out in the street and I wear my traditional clothes, young people are respectful, and each time a young man opens the door for me, I thank him. I engage people on the street, and a lot of times, my son said, "Mom, don't do that." No, but, you have to. And I think that, we have dropped the ball in terms of, and I wouldn't say my generation, but generations below me have really dropped the ball, because material things have become the stalwart. And everybody wants a nice car. I'm not saying we shouldn't have a nice car, but a lot of times our children have been left to their own devices. All kinds of tools that are out here for them to use. And a lot of times parents do not engage their children in terms of sit down and say, now, who are you? Where do you come from? What is your responsibility to the community?
Where are you going?
Yeah, that's right. So
what are you going to do with your life?
Yeah, that's right. Well, we have a lot of work to do. And I am very proud of our young people who are in our community, because they are, holding the mantle. And I'm not going to say that we can rescue everybody, but we certainly can start with those in our community,
Absolutely.
who are doing great things.
And certainly we have to show love, compassion, understanding, patience, toward our young people. We understand that living in this society is not easy, and there are many things that distract them from their purpose. And so we have to give them some guidance. We have to give them some training, some instruction, and use, our skills to give them certain skills, right? So that they can develop as full and useful members in our society. And I'm looking at Bob Senghor back there. He always talked about that blacktricity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important. That's the essence of Africanness, those cosmic African vibrations that we emanate. And the music, and the love, and the goodness, and the mercy. All that's great. We listen to the music of John Coltrane, just like we listen to the music of Earth, Wind, and Fire. And those of you who understand sunrise music, we go back, listen to Duke, Mahalia Jackson, so it's all encompassing, right? And so it's important that we show them the way, give them the guidance, embrace them, and give them respect as they give us respect, and to show them that we're here for them. We're not here to criticize them or demean them, but in fact to uplift them and enlighten them and show them what's so important. It's not that they can't have fun, but like you said, party with a purpose, right? Party with certain things in mind, without engaging in destructive devices and substances, right? So that's important for our young people, and teach them to study and read and apply that knowledge and that research in a meaningful and purposeful way.
Yeah, that's often the disconnect. I want to get back on that a little later. Bobby Mamu had a question,
Yes, sir.
and then we had another question there.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of touch on your question, Sam, about what are we seeing young people today. I really believe we've lost a lot of ground based on our family structure, so to speak, because a lot of things that we had in place are not quite in place the way it was back. And every generation you get accused of being lazy or not this or that, but I don't go around doing that because I remember being a young person growing up, coming up in the 50s and 60s, and people said it about us. These young people don't know, you got nothing to do, blah, 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 but I used to hear it, but I think as a community, there's a lot of work that we have to put into bringing that unit, the family unit, first unit, together, and as we build that family, then we can build stronger communities. But we've lost ground, and we have more work to do, I would say.
But we're not discouraged.
No.
We're encouraged
because of the brothers and sisters who we honor at the Luther Continua Awards.
Yes, sir.
We know that you brothers and sisters the struggle continues.
Definitely, man. And like to your point, and I'm going to give you the floor in a second. You're talking about losing ground. So I'm of the belief that over the last few decades or so, there's been even a greater division among our people. So with that being said, putting together back to family, because people's definition of family is a whole lot different than what it was when y'all were coming up. So like even with that, there's a whole bunch of conflict. People are even going as far as to say like, hey, as long as the mother and father are like good and they can co-parent, they're just different family structures. So even as intergenerationally, there might be something that we can't agree on. So I often ponder that as we talk about relationships. But I'm gonna give you the floor.
Oh, actually had like 2 questions.
Please.
The first question is Sylvia, it'll take you 2 seconds. What does the PAN in Pan-African mean? Is it an acronym for something?
Inclusive.
Can young men speak up?
Yeah, she was asking, what does the PAN mean in Pan-Africanism?
And the second question is, we know you, you know what I mean? There's so many people watching you who don't know what you do. Do you help with, I don't know what else to call it, but the struggle? Like when they're closing, homes, when they're taking homes from people, when they're doing things out in the Black community, how do you represent our people? And is there some connection with City Hall? I mean, do you guys, have like political connections? How do you do that?
Okay, can you repeat her question?
I do think I do.
She said, how do we involve ourselves in the day-to-day struggles of our people?
Yeah.
How do we contribute toward the things that they're faced with, whether they're being evicted, whether they're not receiving the proper education, do we have certain political connections, corporate connections, whatever. We use whatever means possible. We're not strongly connected with the current political structure because, we don't have a lot of optimism about what they do, right? Although this year, Mayor Muriel Bowser gave us a commemoration for the Kwanzaa Children's Party. We got a proclamation from her honoring us and recognizing us while 50 years of service to young people in this community. So we thought that was certainly admirable, you know. But Mary doesn't seem to be operating in our best interest. She
No,
caters,
she's not.
she
No,
caters
she's
to the
not,
corporate
you know.
structure, right? The bureaucratic structure, okay?
Right,
Unlike Marion
exactly.
Barry, you know, Marion Barry was the people's mayor, right?
Right.
I mean, he had his problems, but in the final analysis, you know, he was there for us. For the young people, he had the summer youth program every year, and he also reached out to the elders, right? So we recognize that. So we'd like
Well,
to.
we don't have that structure right now.
We don't.
You know, politically.
We don't.
But I will say that we have certain organizations that do rites of passage,
Yes.
and you know, and that is a good form of enlightening our children. And generally, I'll give. I don't know about if Baba Atiba is on the line or not, but
He's not.
I know that we have our own rites of passage for con women, and our men.
Amen. Yes.
Yes, and our men take young men out every year, well, a couple of times a year. And my grandsons were involved with that. It wasn't a rites of passage. Well, it was in the sense that you had older men there who were teaching younger men. And so rites of passage programs are very effective in terms of enlightenment and liberation, you know, so to speak.
One of our themes this year was expanding our community reach.
Yeah, because I was thinking, you know,
Right.
when the outreach that you do,
Yes.
if you see something, hear something on the radio, see something on TV, one of us being mistreated,
Yes.
you get on the phone and say, hey, y'all, this is what happened. Let's go over and just check out, just make sure everybody's okay.
We probably have not been as proactive in that area as we
Okay.
should be, but we're becoming strong every day. We first want to establish ourselves as a body,
Right.
be solid and purposeful and
Right.
intentional, right? Now we're prepared
Yeah.
to go out in the community
That's right.
and have, you know, more impact.
Mm-hmm.
More
That's
hit
right. Understand too that we are a young, a
organization.
young group.
Yes.
You know, we've only been in existence for about 3 years now, and we have developed a lot of systems. You know, and carrying out those systems, it takes bodies, and
Right.
and that's why I'm saying that what we need younger people to come in and help us, because we can't do it by ourselves.
Exactly.
And, you know, so, I mean, if we were like 15 years down the road, then that would be, then of course we would be able to tell you or even explain to you the kind of things that we can do. But right now, you know, we need help.
If I could, I got one thing to say to your question. I'm gonna be as short as
No
possible.
worries.
Cause I want my man to go here next. So in terms of your question, like, as I understand it, Pan-Africanism at the very basis is us being interdependent and looking inward instead of negotiating or working with the powers that be, the government, and people like that. That's, you know, fundamentally, that's just something that Pan-Africanism, you know, in the sense that we want to be established and we want to come at them as a force.
Right.
Like a force on an equal footing, and we're self-determined in our dealings with them. That's at the very fundamental level. To that point, DC is changing. Like, it's not Chocolate City anymore. Just as everybody else is out there on unequal footing and in need of resources, I would argue that we're at that time right now as well. As far as institutions, properties, manpower, woman power, presence, we're all scrambling right now because at the very, you know, in order, there's a lot of rebuilding going on in terms of transfer of knowledge, as far as just resources, things like that. So, and also, I would even add that there's an anything but Africa movement going on right now as well. Like, I think that, you know, unlike the 90s, in the 80s, but particularly the 90s when you had like a strong African presence in like the TV shows and the media and stuff like that. Right now, it's like even though there's a resurgence in the mainstream sort of kind of, the powers that be, the corporate powers, right, that we're sort of against, they're the ones taking it like Black Panther and whatever else and making like just watering it down. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not as serious, you know, to like the outside as you know as it should be. So like the challenge that we have as Pan-Africanists is making Pan-Africanism appealing to the masses, right? But to do that, we also, in my opinion, need to appeal to their needs. So like that's the next stage for us.
Okay.
But that's just, I just had to say that.
No, thank you so much. You answered my question completely.
Oops.
Just gonna let you go.
Hold on. It's basically a global system of fabric.
Trying to get off the phone. Right there.
Yeah, that's
iPhone. You don't want to fix it.
So it's a global system.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, no, I
Yeah,
disconnected you. Were you about to say something?
Let me give you an example of what's happening that I think is just wonderful. I mean, my kids are older now, but they were the first in the city to practice Kwanzaa, at Nation House and at Ujima. And now you're seeing all over the country, people are practicing Kwanzaa. And one of the things that we're trying to do is the fact that the African American Museum doesn't even have an exhibit on Kwanzaa. And so young people need to get involved with that because that's a part of our history. And so that's, it may not be as strongly as we would like for it to be in terms of Pan-Africanists, but the good thing is that it's being practiced in Chicago, New York, California, Atlanta. And so that's a good thing. And so, we have to take things that are happening within our community and really be very, very happy and very proud that these institutions are really proliferating.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I do.
Hey, go ahead, let's go.
Thank you very much for the presentation that you provided. I was quite excited to sit and actually listen to you because I think it does very well to sort of diagnose the African problem and kind of what our solutions need to be, right? Which is primarily around a social revolution, social change, nation building, community building, culture, language, and things of that sort, which I think is very clearly articulated. But one thing that's also very interesting is that this is not necessarily new, right? I mean, Chancellor Williams' book already kind of articulates these issues way back in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And yet what we do find is that progress to reaching, this very tight, well-knit community of Africans on the continent or in the diaspora hasn't really happened very well. And I would like to kind of hear from you what you think primarily is the issue there. I've read a little bit on issues to do with family, that families are kind of weak, so it makes it very difficult to build good families, a community, and then a nation at the top of it. But are there other issues, assuming maybe, because families are also changing, how are we going to get to what we need to get to, right? Which is this nation of Africans that have one agenda that is clearly articulated, where we know where it is that we're going. And what is our theory of change to get there? What are the pathways that we're going to use to get there? Which I think is pretty much part of the questions that you're bringing up. I would really love to hear you thinking about that, sort of this diagnosis of what is the problem? Why haven't we been able to get there? And going forward, where do you think could be the touch points to help build this community that we need to build?
Right. Well, I think we touched on some of that during the course of this conversation. In terms of nation building, in terms of involving young people in what we're doing, in terms of establishing a system of Pan-Africanism, which is global, worldwide, and incorporates many aspects of our existence, right? We want to first focus on our history and our culture and study ancient African societies, whether it's Kemetan, whether it's the Akan, or the Yoruba. We want to certainly look throughout the diaspora for models that we can use to incorporate into our current quest for liberation and freedom. We want to study many of the scholars and the writers who come before us, whether it be Dr. Ben, Joseph Pinto Cannon, W.B. Du Bois, you know. It's a holistic approach to education. Then we have to apply that in a meaningful and practical and pragmatic way. We need to establish our own independent schools, which many of us have. We have Ujima, we have Nation House here. Yes, Roots. But we have a few independent African schools. We need more. And we need to also provide certain instructional guidelines to our current public schools. In fact, Baba Tiba and I, Mama Avena Walker, and a few others, we actually started a program with the DC public schools where we actually taught the teachers about Kwanzaa so that they in turn could go into the classroom and teach their students. At that time, we had a superintendent who was receptive to us doing that, you see. But obviously, the politics in this city has changed. Adrian Fenty brought in that Asian girl who had no interest in black children. And all black teachers, right. She brought in all these white teachers, right? So that set us back. Lost a lot of ground there. So we have to sort of regroup and re-strategize and re-energize our people to move on that level. You know, we have to operate on many different levels, inside and outside the system.
That's right. Yes, no question about it.
You know, whether you wear a suit and tie and work for the system, or whether you wear traditional clothes and work outside the system, we still have to look at a dual approach to our struggle, to our liberation struggle, you see. So we appreciate your question, and it certainly has merit. And
one thing too is that we have to get back to honoring our ancestors too.
yes,
And if we honor our ancestors and the traditions of our ancestors, it would take us a long way. And we've gotten away from that. We've gotten away from respecting elders in the street. You know, we've gotten away from just some basic tenets of who we are as African people. And we got to get back to that. And you know, because our ancestors are there to help us. But if we don't call on them, and if we don't feed them, and if we don't give them the nourishment and the respect that is due, then they can't help us.
yes, sir, Bob.
Yeah, your question also was what happened. As I mentioned earlier, we lost a lot of ground in that family structure. Back around 1970, you look at the prison industrial complex, the prison, the criminal injustice system that we live in under. There was, I think it was about 100,000 people in prison in this country around 1970. The numbers may be off. Now there's over 1 million people in prison. And most of those people in prison, I don't know if it's 50% or 40 or whatever the percentage is, but there's a large majority of young black males
And females. Yes.
languishing in these prisons. And as we know, a lot of the guys are in there for crimes they didn't commit. And you know how they just come in and sweep a little neighborhood. And so it's huge, man, because there's only a few people working to try to do anything about these problems. It's just a few people. There's not enough hands and minds and work and organization to address all these problems. These are some massive problems. And then you look at who are we under? I mean, who's putting all these problems out there? These people are very well organized. They have plans 10, 20 years. Well, it's a well-oiled system that we're fighting. and it's not easy fighting this system, brother. It's some serious work that need to be done, and we need every able-bodied individual conscious to do some of the work that's needed. So many areas of work that we need to work on. Like I mentioned, the family. Back in the 60s, we had 60% I think, or 70% of the households were man and woman back in the 60s. And now they say it's down to about 24%. So therein lies the problem right there. The family structure has been really disrupted. And I think that the best way now going forward is to try to restructure that family.
And that starts with the young people. That starts, with young people marrying one another again.
Yeah.
And coming and sending their children to traditional schools, to African-centered schools.
Yeah.
So it starts with the youth. Like I said, we don't have as many years ahead of us that we had behind us. So, and we are a group of 16 people, and that's why it is most important that we have to develop strong arms. We have to develop arms to who we are to help us.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I keep saying this, is that we can't do it by ourselves.
Right. And in closing, another thing that we've been working on is manhood training. Me and who was it, brother? He's not here. Some of the two other brothers working. Yes, Kalechi and Tepri Sa from the Assault Set side. We've been working on manhood training, trying to get these brothers to sit down and try to make some sense out of what's going on out here. Character building, economics, the whole 9 yards, is how to build, and defining what is a man. You know what I mean? And I think if we have stronger men, stronger families, stronger sisters, mamas, then of course the community will become stronger. So, a lot of areas we need to work on: housing, education, occupation, jobs, and health, and I mean, it's so many areas of work that's needed. But as I said, there's very few people who are out here trying to do anything. It's hard.
Just to hear.
Yes, I just wanted to know. I noticed in the presentation you mentioned that the elders represent other groups, and
Yes.
if you could just, is that list, does it exist online, or could you? I just wanted to know who the other groups were that were represented as part of.
She's talking about Healthy Pan.
Healthy Pan, yeah.
Is there a website?
Some of different organizations and groups.
Yeah, some of the groups are the Russell Negro Improvement Association, African Communities League, some of our religious societies, Neapile, Abusier. At one time we had the National Black United Front was a part of the coalition. Cobia, the group that does the manhood training and womanhood training, they're part of the organization. And we have the Rastafari community. Brother Ras Kwazi, he does programs here as well in the summer. His groups are part of it. So there are at least, I would say at least 15 organizations that make up this
Has there ever
coalition.
been a conference to bring all the groups together to do
Yeah,
anything?
well, the groups are scheduled to come together again on March the 6th. That's Friday, March the 6th. That's the day we put out during Kwanzaa that we want the LC-PAN member organization to come together and
Where's that going to
continue
happen?
to work.
Where is that? Is that a public meeting or is that like?
Yeah, it's a closed meeting to the organizations,
Gotcha.
the organizations.
Gotcha.
So if you're a member of the organization, you're welcome to come, but each group only get one vote. So
Also,
you can send 10 people, but you get one vote.
Also, the independent African schools are part of that. Ujima, Nation House, Roots. Because, obviously the educational component is very important. So it's about 20 groups, really, right?
Is it that many?
Yeah.
15 to 20 groups.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Religious
Does the
organizations.
list exist anywhere?
Huh?
Like where?
Like online.
Elsie Pan.
Oh, here's a little information that might
Okay,
help you.
thank you.
There's
Bob,
a
what
base-
will y'all be voting on?
Huh?
What will y'all be voting on?
No, it's not a voting. It's just coming together.
Oh, I thought you said everybody gets one vote.
Yeah, when there is a vote
Oh, I
for
see.
anything, then yeah,
Oh.
every group get one vote.
Could I ask what the agenda is for that meeting?
The agenda is to reconvene. We haven't met regularly in a while, and we have our one of the co-chairs of the LCPAN. He's coming back to reconvene his position as co-chair, Brother Quao, and he works with the Uncobia, with the manhood training that was mentioned today. And Mama Thea, she's still the assistant co-chair, and she helps to plan the annual Pan-African Festival that we have every year. I know some of y'all remember coming to the annual festival on Rhode Island Avenue Northeast, over there in Brentwood area, where the
Saratoga.
yeah, over in Saratoga, over there where they tore down the Brentwood Shopping Center. We have a festival there, but this year we have it in another location. So
When will that
it's in July,
be?
and it's in here. Have you seen this before?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, a lot of the information,
Okay.
the
I have one. Yeah,
addresses and phone numbers is
Okay,
Is-
so those are all the.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you
Okay.
have more than one?
yeah.
that Kwanzaa calendar, in fact, is
Is there
developed by
a
the
charge
United
for
Black
that?
Community.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the United Black Community,
Right.
and that's the group that put this together here.
Gotcha,
I
okay,
get the email.
okay.
We've
I
been
have that.
organizing
No problem. I will
Kwanzaa
do that.
And
for
then,
many years.
and then also we do have the spiritual coalition, where all of the African religious groups get together every year, and we have a conference, and so that should be sometime in the spring as well.
Yes. There are a lot of efforts ongoing. Many of you maybe have not heard of it, but I think most of you have, if you're in tune with what's going on in the African community here. But certainly we want to, as I said, expand our reach, get the word out to a wider group of people here in the city, and of course we invite you to come and take part and be a part of our efforts.
And we also videotape some of the elders we have in our community, and unfortunately, Baba IJ was on the list, on deck to be interviewed, but he passed before this happened. So we also had Brother Ah on the list to be interviewed, but and as you know, Brother Ah is in the hospital convalescing, and if you know Brother Ah, all the wisdom and knowledge he has with the music is enormous.
It's outstanding.
Playing with Duke Ellington and John Coltrane, who living today, played with these giants. So he could have gave us a lot of that information about that.
Yeah, he was on WPFW radio. Many of you are familiar with the station. And we use WPFW as a voice to get the word out to the community. We're on the radio at least 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah,
We talk about
Right.
Kwanzaa, we talk about the annual John Coltrane tribute that we have.
right.
Various individuals talk about some of the efforts that they're doing. We have health fairs and festivals and things of that nature. So
And you can hear us on Kaba's show. Kaba, y'all know Kaba on WPFW?
What day is that usually?
Come on Mondays.
Yeah.
We regulars
3 to 5.
on his show. So that's how you
African Deep Thought.
find us.
African deep thought. Yeah. One thing, I know one of my clients said to me that her son wants her to move out to California, and she said, "Ansa, I just don't want to go because there's no place like DC in terms of what's happening with the African American community."
Right.
And so there's a lot going on, and the thing is that, we're just not sitting back and just, doing nothing.
Resting on our laurels. No.
No, we're not. I mean, there's a lot going on in our community. And what we have to do is to maybe get it out there more.
Yeah.
So people will know. I think the calendar
think we have to really be cognizant, right? Be conscious of the difficulty that it takes. We're talking 15 to 20 organizations working together. That's what the Council of Elders is, by 20 organizations coming together, sort of being on sync and, and just coordinating activities. Like, what goes on in the background, not even speak to that, but if you could just talk to the type of mindset and the type of customs that go on in the background as best as you can to make y'all to be able to coordinate that sort of activity. When you have 15 organizations coming together, people who are not of like minds, but they're still getting the work done. Like, what is it that happens in those environments?
Well, you try to reach a consensus. And as we said in the Council of Elders, if you can't reach that consensus, then you take it to a vote. So that's how we come to our conclusions. We try to be consensus builders because we know the variations and the differences in the organizations.
But even within that, though, because this is sort of like our politics, right? Like, as elders, how do we come to these decisions even before it comes to a vote? Because I'm pretty sure there's a discussion. I'm pretty sure that, there are people who have various interests coming to the table.
Well, there's committees, and committees come and present their proposals and ideas. And
I apologize.
yeah, after we hear the committee's proposals and ideas, and then we go on that consensus basis that we spoke about.
Right. Well, first of all, we invite all of our members to, whenever we develop an agenda, we always ask each of our members if they want anything on that agenda to be discussed. And so that's where we start. And then there, like Baba was saying, we have subcommittees as well. Once we decide on a proposal, then the subcommittee will then do their work, and then they bring back the results to the entire body. Because we never do anything without consensus.
Yes, indeed. Obviously, it's not easy when you have a lot of individuals involved in making these decisions. But, first of all, we try to show our love toward each other, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Try to show our respect, and honor them as individuals, and certainly honor their proposals.
And contributions.
And contributions, right. And then, we want to give it the utmost consideration, but in the final analysis, we all eventually agree. Maybe not all, but most eventually agree
But right.
what direction we're going to go, like any other organization.
Yeah, and one thing that we have some very strong individuals on our council.
Yes.
And these are people who have represented themselves very well within the community. And they bring a lot of resources, they bring a lot of ideas and so forth. And so, like Mama said, we try our best to deal with consensus. We try our best to recognize, the importance of allowing people to, to express their ideas. And but when it all boils down to it, it's a matter of consensus.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Bob and Mama, and Mr. Collins for your presentation.
You're very welcome.
Rasafik.
Yes.
I'm very interested in the organization, just because I'm interested in organizing grassroots organization and general institutionalism and institution building.
Right.
When you all, I have a few questions, just a short line of questions. They're not terribly involved. But you mentioned the LCPAN, and you mentioned the Spiritual Coalition and the United Black Community.
Yes.
And those are different bodies, or are they a part of the same body?
They're individual organizations that belong to the larger body, the Leadership Council of Pan Africa.
Oh, so United Black Community and Spiritual Coalition, they are in the LCPAN?
Yes.
And the LCPAN stands for the Leadership Council.
Pan-African Nationalism.
Yeah, okay.
And and so when you said that the Pan-African Council of Elders was recently established.
About 5-6 years ago, yes.
What year was that?
6 years ago?
About
2013.
was it established in an incorporation or not?
Is it incorporated?
Right.
No.
Okay. Is there a charter? I mean, is there a constitutional charter?
Constitution, yes.
And the members and the ratifying members, they have ratified the charter or document or the Constitution is what you call it.
Yes, the Constitution.
Okay.
But we're in the process of rewriting that,
Oh, you are?
refining it, and expanding upon it.
Are you doing that at your regular meetings?
We have special sessions that we have.
Subcommittees.
And we have a retreat coming up in a couple of months, at which we will focus on that even more so.
Right, and remember too, when it first got started, and many of the members who were originally, members of the Council of Elders, that pretty much disbanded. And so we had, Baba Lasana back, and a few people were the original, members of the Council of Elders, and then we began to go through the process of inviting other members from the LCPN to be where we are today.
Yes. That's very inspiring that you're building a multilateral coalition. It seems like that's the ultimate objective, is to have this tier system in which all of the organizations have representation within a larger representative body, and
Yes.
it sounds like the LCPAN is the large representative body through which individual organizations such as Spiritual Coalition and Council of Pan-African Elders, that's like the Congress, in the local Congress of Pan-African nationalism.
You can sort of say that, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you see, every organization can nominate a member to be on the Council of Elders. Every organization. That's where we come from. We come out of the organizations.
Oh, so the Council of Elders in and of itself is a representative organization
Yes.
whose members are representing other organizations.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And I forgot to mention appeal.
I was just
Yeah, I
gonna
was-
ask you
yeah,
about them.
yeah.
I was looking for the email because
Yes,
I just found
appeal
it
is
because
part
they
of
have the
it.
Black
Yes,
Saturdays co-op
Right. That's
on
tomorrow.
Saturdays, yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
tomorrow.
So-
And
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask.
Where are your
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Where are your regular meetings again?
At the Moja
At
House.
the Moja House, every third Sunday.
2015 Bunker Hill Road, North End.
I'm gonna open the floor for one last question before we close it down for the night.
And what time?
Is anybody who hasn't spoken
We
yet?
meet at 3 o'clock.
Meetings are at 3:00 p.m.
Yes.
Anybody who hasn't spoken yet, if you got a question, by all means, feel free to,
Sundays.
let us know.
Yes, third Sunday of each month.
No question, Brother Sam, but I wanted to thank the elders for their work, over the years, over the decades and all that. And,
Thank you.
thank you.
Give thanks.
Santi San, I should say.
Sorry, what did I can't hear?
He was saying he wanted to thank us for all the work that we're doing,
Yeah.
and of course to keep on doing it, right,
Yes,
bro?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Well,
He-
thank you.
He's a future member, future
Yeah,
council.
hopefully.
With that being said, I just want to thank y'all for coming here. Let's give our guests a hand one more time, y'all.
Appreciate you.
A lot of great information.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Nana Asa.
Yeah, thank you,
I
Nana.
know you weren't here physically, but you're here on the phone. That's dedication.
Yeah, indeed.
Dedication for you, y'all.
So hopefully we'll see y'all here the next show, third Friday in February.
What's going on that day? Sam?
You'll find out when I find out.
Okay.
Okay, Mom.
Great.
The 24th.
Wait a minute, let me put you back on speaker, huh?
I said, for those of you who can come out,
Okay.
the 40-day rights for Nana,
Ajay.
Kwame,